For the Detroit Lions, this season has been absolutely historic as they reached their 13th win in a season, which is an established franchise record now. But many of their doubters and haters are still unwilling to acknowledge this feat and many others. So we're going to talk about it. Stay tuned.
What are we? What makes us what we are and what we're going to be? It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes. I will beat your ass.
Can definitely compete with the big dogs.
10-5 end zone touchdown Detroit Lions.
You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions friends, fans, and family members. Welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike. And as always, we're diving on in. My friends, I do realize that it has been a while since I have made any content. Some people have wondered if it was about my health as to why I was not making content. Partially that was the case, but mostly it was because haven't really had a whole lot of time to spend with my family, Christmas holiday. I figured that was more important, spending time with my wife, with my children, spending time with family that was coming in out of town. I figured that was more important than making content. Doesn't mean I wasn't keeping up with what was going on in the Detroit Lions world. It was just that I deemed that more important than making content. So now that I have a moment where, things have kind of slowed down a little bit and I've now got a chance to do this, I decided I'd start kind of getting back into the swing of things here. But let's talk about the content for today. Let's talk about the topic here. All of us Lions fans know that last year was a pretty epic season. We went 12-5. We got to the conference championship game. We were literally a whisker away from getting to the Super Bowl. But this year has even further surpassed that epic, tale of last year. It has taken on even a much larger, a much more grandiose kind of feel to it than the season last year. And as much as I hate to say this, it almost feels like for some people that was kind of the expectation. But I can tell you this right now, for anybody who's watched football, anybody who's watched the NFL, to say that something is expected is not a good idea because the NFL has a tendency to flip things on a dime, and sooner rather than later, you will find yourself in a bad spot because we've seen constantly how, teams that are expected to do really well on the course of a season, all of a sudden things just fall apart for them. There was that Philadelphia Eagles team that was called the Dream Team. There's the Jets this year. I mean, every single year there's always a quote-unquote team that is supposed to do really well. It's expected to do really well, and they just kind of peter out, Well, for the Detroit Lions, they've definitely lived up to those expectations. But the problem is that I feel that those expectations that they have or that have been put upon them, at least by the outside world, by the media and all those that don't like us, our opposing rivals and other fan bases, they look at the things we've accomplished and they use that as a discrediting factor. They use that as a way to say, oh, well, we don't have to admit that what you guys have done is actually something of a very phenomenal feat, something that's really noteworthy. And it's like, dude, I don't care who you are. Let's just think about this. I don't care who you are. You win 13 games in a season, especially the way we've won them. That is an accomplishment. That is saying something. The reason why I say the way we've done it is because let's keep some things in proper perspective here. Number one, this is not like the Vikings when Kirk Cousins was there and they were barely beating teams and they were finding all these freaking ridiculous ways to come back from all these ridiculous, situations that they should have never been in. That's not what's happening here with the Detroit Lions this year. Rather, we are having situations that are popping up where we can't control what we're dealing with. When you get down by 30-plus points in a game at halftime against the Colts, that's something you can control because you're out on the field. You're the one that can or cannot make plays. But when you're dealing with the number of injuries we've been dealing with, you can't control that. Injuries are a part of the game. They're going to happen. So you just have to take them as they come. Well, Consider that we have had however many players on IR, we've had however many players get injured, and consider that in the fact that we're still 13-2. Consider the fact that we've only lost 2 games by a combined point total of 10 points. Think about that. We lost to the Bucks 20-16. That's 4. We lost to the Bills 48-42. That's 6. We've lost 2 games with a combined point differential of 10 points, despite having the most players on IR this year and having as many players on IR on our defensive side of the ball. And yet we've lost 2 games by a combined point total of 10. Please tell me how in the hell that is not an impressive feat. Please tell me how that is not showing the freaking the resilience, the grit, the talent, the depth that this team has. I understand that you have rivals and you have people that want to always constantly tear down the Lions or whatever the case is, whether they're Packers fans, Bears fans, Vikings fans, I don't give a damn. But when you hear this coming out of media personalities who their supposed job requirements are to step back and look at things analytically, that's where things get a lot more difficult. That's where things get my ire up, because it's like, okay, here. To try and say that what the Lions are doing is not impressive, or to try and lessen the importance of it, lessen the greatness of it, I think is criminal. Because let's think about this, folks. Going into this season, there were a lot of people that had not only, all these things that we're trying to say about the Lions themselves, but also individual components about the Lions. Like, let's first and foremost understand this. After Jared Goff signed his record contract for, that 4-year, $212 million contract, I can't tell you how many people who were still those lone wolf Goff haters out there that as soon as Goff signed that contract, they said, yep, Goff's going to go right back to what he did when he signed the contract with the Rams. He's going to freaking, just fall apart, and he's going to absolutely just bomb. They wanted to say that the Lions were foolish for giving Goff that contract, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's just put this out there for what it is. First and foremost, if you go back to the game that Jared Goff played against the Bears this prior weekend, Jared Goff, once again, completed over 70% of his passes, almost completed 350 yards worth of passing yards. He had 3 passing touchdowns, no interceptions, 137 passer rating with a 79.8 QBR. That sounds pretty damn good. But why am I bringing it up? The reason I'm bringing it up is because what has been one of the biggest detractors about Goff ever since he's gotten here? Oh, he's a dome quarterback. He can't play outside. He can't play in the cold. He can't play in the wet. He can't play in the wind. He's just not able to play in the elements. But yet both games that Goff has played outdoors this year, against the Packers in Lambeau and against the Bears in Chicago, he's not only played well, but surprisingly, exceedingly well. Think about that. Goff has played much better than anybody wants to give him credit for this year. In fact, I'm going to point this out right now. I'm going to put these stats up on the screen as far as the year when Jared Goff, his best year with the frickin' Rams. Think about this. This was Jared Goff's best year with the Rams as far as his numbers, as far as his production, okay? So, when you take a look at those numbers, look pretty damn solid. Jared Goff was obviously at the top of his quote-unquote game as far as a quarterback back then, one of the young, bright quarterbacks of the league. Well, here's the thing. You take a look at those numbers, now take a look, sorry, my paper decided to slide there. Now take a look at what Goff has done this year after getting that contract that everybody said was going to be, the reason why he all of a sudden reverted back to the quote-unquote turnover machine that he was. Jared Goff this year, with 2 games left to play, has already thrown almost 4,100 passing yards. He's already surpassed his season-high total as a Detroit Lions quarterback with 33 passing touchdowns. He is second highest in the league with a 71.4 completion percentage. That's absolutely higher than anything he's ever posted in his career, mind you. He has a 112.2 passer rating, also higher than anything he's ever posted in his career. year. And, oh, by the way, that's also having a perfect passer rating game, a 100% completion percentage game, 3 150-plus passer rating games, 6 125-plus passer rating games, 10 100-plus passer rating games, and 5 80%-plus completion percentage games, and 10 70-plus completion percentage games. For a guy that was supposed to fall apart after getting all that money, after getting all that, all the contract stuff that he was supposed to get, and then he was supposed to revert back into a quote-unquote pumpkin, Jared Goff is playing better than he has ever played in his career, and he is literally right now at the beginning of his prime. Most quarterbacks hit their prime in their late 20s all the way to about their mid-30s. Jared Goff is right at the beginning of his prime. He's got at least another 4 or 5 more years of this kind of football we can expect from him. Which, oh, by the way, that's the length of the contract. I would like to say that I think Brad Holmes knew exactly what the hell he was doing there. But it's not just Jared Goff. I want to point this out too. I don't know however many people, when this season got started up, however many people wanted to go after Jameson Williams because they thought that he was going to continue to be a bust. He was going to continue to be a problem, that he was just this waste of space. And the funny thing about it is that despite all the nonsense that has gone around, surrounding JMO has done nothing but continue to work and continue to produce. Everybody wanted to say that, Jameson Williams was not worth that first-round draft pick, that he was not worth what we invested in to get him, and that, he was just a waste of a pick. Really. Let's think about this here. Despite everything that's happened this year with the whole gun incident, which, by the way, those charges were dropped, they were waived, despite the whole nonsense with the, stuff that's happened on the sideline 2 times against the Bears, despite the fact that the Bears player was the one that instigated it, and then everything else that's happened prior to this, whether it was the 4th of July incident, the Coney Island incident, whether it was the gambling incident, I don't give a damn which one you want to throw out there. How has Jameson Williams done this year? His very first season as a full-time starting wide receiver. Jameson Williams has 47 catches for almost 900 yards. He's almost getting 19 yards per average a freaking catch. And he has 6 receiving touchdowns. For a guy that's in his first year as an official wide receiver starter. Because think about it, last year he wasn't the starter. That was Josh Reynolds. And then the year before that, he really didn't play a whole lot because, that's right, he was coming back from injury. What I'm trying to get across here is that once Jameson Williams actually got the chance to be the full-time starter, once Jameson Williams actually got the ability to integrate himself fully into this offense, look at the damn results and you try and tell me that this kid's a bust. The guy has literally freaking half the freaking receptions that Amon-Ra St. Brown has. Because Amon-Ra St. Brown has 101 receptions. JMO has only 47. But yet Jameson Williams is literally only about 200 yards less in terms of receiving yards compared to Amon-Ra St. Brown. You're going to try and tell me that that is not a difference maker? You're going to try and tell me that that's not worthy of a first-round draft pick? Once again, Brad Holmes knew what the hell he was doing. And for those that wanted to say, cut Jameson Williams, trade Jameson Williams, he's nothing but a headache, I think it's about time you apologized. This young man has had to deal with a lot of nonsense from the Detroit fan base, and it's like, dude, he's balling out this year. He's doing things that a lot of wide receivers cannot do. When you can literally give him a 5-yard hitch route and he can make it a freaking 20-yard gain like we saw against the Bears, that is special. Not a whole bunch of players can do that nonsense. But yet Jameson Williams is one of them. That's saying something. So, we've talked about players such as Goff, such as JMO. We've talked about the team itself at a sort of generalized capacity. But here's what I'm trying to say to end this whole episode here. The Lions are doing stuff this year in a way that I don't care how you want to try and describe it. I don't care how much you want to try and discredit it as far as opponents. The Lions have played against some really damn good opponents this year, and we have not only handled some of those opponents very well, we have damn well throttled them. I mean, for crying out loud, we've got 2 games this year where we've scored 50-plus points. We've had multiple games this year where we've scored 40 and 30-plus points. And if I recall correctly, I'm hoping I'm correct on this, but as far as I know, we've only had 2 games this year where we've allowed 30 points or more scored on us. And again, considering the fact that our defense has been as banged up as it has been throughout the course of the year, to think that we've only had 2 games where we've given up 30-plus points versus where our offense has put up the freaking plethora of points it has, that is saying something truly special about this team. So what I'm trying to get at here is do not let the haters, do not let the doubters try and deceive you. Do not let them try to steer you astray. Do not let them tell you something different about this team. This team is getting healthy at just the right time, folks. We've literally got 2 more games until we hit the postseason. And hey, you know what? We just got Ife Melifonwu back. Freaking Jalen Reeves-Maben, they've started his clock. There's a good chance that, you know what, he's either going to come back this week or next week. We're about to get Alex Anzalone back. My whole point is that we are literally getting healthy at just the right time going into the playoffs. And once we get to that point where, hey, you know what, championship game, Super Bowl week, and we get Aiden Hutchinson back, now you are talking about a team that is exactly where it was back at the beginning of the year where Hutchinson was on a tear. We freaking destroyed the Cowboys on national television, and we freaking beat the Seattle Seahawks on national television. Now you're talking about a team that has all of those weapons back on defense, still has the same powerhouse offense that it has. Now you're right back exactly where you started back week 4, week 5 of the season. So for people that are trying to discredit us right now, whether it's Nick Wright, whether it's Skip Bayless, whether it's any of those other fools or the other fan bases on freaking Twitter or Facebook, I would simply put it to you this way. We're 13-2. We're getting healthy at just the right time. We have proven in the past that we have what it takes to not only get to a championship game, but also we can win a championship game. And that was with not only a lesser roster in terms of defensive talent, but it was also with a lesser roster in terms of offensive talent. Because the reason I'm going to say that is because Jahmyr Gibbs wasn't as talented or as developed as he was last year. He's much more developed this year. Same thing with Jameson Williams. The offensive line is better than what it was last year. This team is better than what it was last year. Their expectations for themselves are much higher than anybody else outside of the building. I don't give a damn who it is. So what I'm trying to say here is do not let yourselves be deceived by what these characters in the media or these other fan bases are trying to tell you. They don't know jack diddly poo, and all they're trying to do is make you think that, hey, we still have problems, we still can't do it. We most certainly can do it, and I believe that we will do it. But having said that, I'm going to end this episode as my first one back and say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode. Also encourage y'all to do one of these 3 things: like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If by chance you subscribed in the past and forgot to do so at the time, I want to highly encourage y'all, please, make sure you hit that bell notification icon so that way you guys never miss any more content I push out. Also want to encourage y'all to share the content with your Lions friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you possibly can, because the more we can do that, the greater the channel can grow and spread. And with that being said, my friends, I hope you all enjoyed the content. Whether this is your first time watching me or you guys have been watching me for a while now, I hope you all enjoyed it and hope you all got something out of it. Also hope you all are having something in your life that makes you happy, makes you smile. God bless, my friends, and until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.